The spreadsheet blurred in front of my eyes for the third time in an hour. I blinked hard, trying to focus on the quarterly revenue figures that needed to be organized before tomorrow's board meeting. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but all I could think about was the man in the office 20 feet away from my desk. Massimo De Luca, my boss, my tormentor. The man who occupied far too many of my thoughts for someone who barely acknowledged my existence beyond professional necessity. I'd been his executive assistant for 11 months now. 11 months of arriving at 7 in the morning to have his espresso ready, the exact temperature he preferred. 11 months of screening calls, managing his impossible schedule, and watching women in designer dresses parade through his office for business meetings that left lipstick stains on crystal glasses I'd have to wash. 11 months of being invisible. The March rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of De Luca Industries' executive floor. Outside, Boston's financial district gleamed wet and gray, a mirror to my mood. I pulled my cardigan tighter around myself, a habit when I felt exposed, even though the office temperature was perfectly regulated. Miss Moretti. His voice cut through my thoughts like a blade wrapped in velvet. I jumped, nearly knocking over my coffee mug. Yes, Mr. De Luca? He stood in his doorway, all 6 feet 3 inches of Italian-American perfection. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, if marble could look that predatory. His charcoal suit fit him like a second skin, custom-tailored to emphasize shoulders that seemed perpetually ready for violence. The Castellano contract. Where is it? On your desk, sir. Left side, beneath the Henderson file. My voice came out steady despite the way my heart hammered against my ribs. His dark eyes held mine for a moment longer than necessary. Efficient as always. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. I released the breath I'd been holding. This was my life. Stolen glances. Professional exchanges that left me analyzing every word for hidden meaning. Pathetic fantasies about a man who probably couldn't even remember my first name without checking his employee roster. I was 26 years old, and had somehow become the world's most boring cliché, the mousy assistant pining for her powerful boss. My mother would be mortified if she knew. She'd raised me to be independent, strong, to never let a man define me. Yet here I was, wearing neutral colors and keeping my head down, living for the brief moments when Massimo De Luca noticed I existed. Earth to Mia. A hand waved in front of my face. I looked up to find Sophia Chen, one of the junior analysts, grinning at me. Sophia was everything I wasn't. Confident, outgoing, with a sharp wit that could cut through any corporate BS. Sorry, just focused on these numbers. Focused on something. Her knowing look made heat rise to my cheeks. We're still on for drinks tonight, right? You promised you wouldn't bail again. I had promised. 3 times in the past month, I'd canceled our plans, too exhausted from the emotional labor of existing near Massimo to socialize. But Sophia had been patient with me, and I owed her. I'll be there. 7 at Moretti's? The irony of the bar sharing my last name wasn't lost on me. Perfect. And Mia? She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Wear something other than your usual uniform. Live a little. After she left, I glanced down at my outfit. Gray pencil skirt, white blouse, sensible heels. The same thing I wore every day with minor variations. When had I become so? Beige. The afternoon crawled by with agonizing slowness. Massimo had 3 meetings, each one requiring me to coordinate with his security team. That was another thing I'd learned in my 11 months. My boss wasn't just a successful businessman. He was something else entirely, something dangerous that whispered through the halls in Italian and made grown men nervous. I wasn't supposed to know about the warehouse in Southie where trucks arrived at odd hours. I wasn't supposed to understand why certain phone calls were taken in Italian with the door locked. I wasn't supposed to notice the shoulder holster he sometimes wore under his jacket. But I did notice. I noticed everything about Massimo De Luca. At 6:30, I finally shut down my computer and gathered my things. Massimo's door remained closed, a call with someone in Sicily running long. I left his evening briefing materials on his desk using my keycard to access his office, allowing myself one guilty moment to inhale the lingering scent of his cologne. Then I fled, before I could do something truly pathetic, like touch his things. My apartment was a tiny studio in the North End, 3 flights up in a building that predated the American Revolution. It was cramped and the heat was unreliable, but it was mine. I'd earned it with my salary from DeLuca Industries, refusing to touch the trust fund my parents had left me after the car accident that killed them when I was 19. I showered quickly, then stared at my closet with growing despair. Sophia had said to wear something different, but different wasn't really in my repertoire. Finally, I settled on a black dress I'd bought on impulse 2 years ago and never worn. It had a V-neck that showed more collarbone than I usually displayed and hit mid-thigh instead of my usual conservative knee length. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. My dark hair, usually pulled into a severe bun, fell in waves around my shoulders. The dress made me look, not invisible. It felt dangerous, exposing, like stepping outside the protective shell I'd built around myself. But maybe that was exactly what I needed. Moretti's was packed when I arrived, the Friday night crowd already well into their weekend revelry. I spotted Sophia at the bar, her red dress and confident posture making her a magnet for attention. "Oh my God, Mia!" She practically squealed when she saw me. "You look amazing. See what happens when you don't dress like you're going to a funeral?" I slid onto the bar stool beside her, already regretting my choice. "It's too much. It's perfect." She ordered us both white wine without asking. "You need to loosen up. When was the last time you went on a date?" "I don't. I'm not really interested in dating right now." "Because you're too busy making eyes at Mr. Tall, dark, and probably dangerous?" She raised an eyebrow. "Mia, honey, I love you, but that man is way out of your league. Not because you're not amazing, but because men like him don't notice women like us. They're too busy with supermodels and socialites." The words stung, because they were true. But somehow, hearing them out loud made something rebel inside me. "I know that." I took a large sip of wine, the crisp Pinot Grigio sliding down too easily. "I'm not delusional." "I didn't say you were delusional. I said you were wasting your time on a fantasy when there are plenty of real guys who would worship the ground you walk on." We drank, then drank some more. Sophia had always been better at holding her liquor than me, and by the time we'd split a bottle, the edges of the world had gone soft and warm. The noise of the bar felt distant, like I was wrapped in cotton. "You know what your problem is?" Sophia leaned in conspiratorially. "You're too careful, too controlled. You need to do something spontaneous, something wild." "I'm not a spontaneous person." "Exactly. That's the problem." She gestured broadly, nearly knocking over her glass. "You're 26, Mia. 26. You should be making mistakes and taking chances, not organizing some asshole's calendar and pining from a distance." The wine had loosened something in my chest, made the constant ache of wanting Massimo DeLuca feel less like a shameful secret and more like a righteous grievance. "He doesn't even know I exist," I heard myself say. "Not really. I'm just furniture to him. Useful furniture that makes good coffee." "Then make him notice you." Sophia's eyes glittered with mischief and alcohol. "Send him a text. Right now. Something bold." "I can't do that." "Why not? What's the worst that could happen? He fires you? You're brilliant, Mia. You'd have another job in a week. But you'll never know if you don't try." The wine sang in my veins, making impossible things feel suddenly achievable. I pulled out my phone, staring at Massimo's contact information. I'd called and texted him hundreds of times, but always with professional messages. Schedule changes, meeting confirmations, Document requests. Never anything personal. Never anything real. Do it, Sophia urged. Be brave for once in your life. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was insane. I would regret this in the morning. I would probably get fired. But the wine and the loneliness and 11 months of invisible yearning made me type 3 words I would never have had the courage to send sober. Come get me. I hit send before I could think better of it. Oh my God, you actually did it, Sophia crowed. What did you say? I showed her the screen, and her eyes went wide. Holy shit, Mia. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing you've ever done. Reality crashed back in cold waves. Oh God, what did I just do? My phone buzzed in my hand. A response, almost immediate. I stared at the screen, my wine-soaked brain struggling to process that Massimo De Luca had just responded to my drunken text. Not just responded. Asked where I was. He wants to know where I am, I said, my voice strangled. Sophia grabbed my phone, her eyes scanning the message. Holy shit. He's actually going to come? Panic crashed over me like a cold wave, sobering me up with brutal efficiency. What have I done? He can't see me like this. I need to tell him I was joking. You need to tell him where you are, Sophia interrupted firmly. Mia, do you know how many women would kill for Massimo De Luca to ask them that question? But I'm drunk and stupid, and this was a terrible idea. My phone buzzed again. Mia. Location. Now. The command in those 3 words sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear, and everything to do with the way he said my name during that one board meeting when I'd corrected his pronunciation of a client's name. Like he was tasting it. Learning it. Give me that. Sophia took my phone and typed before I could stop her. There. Sent him the address. Now fix your lipstick and try to look less terrified. I can't believe this is happening. This isn't happening. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and die of embarrassment. Or you're going to wake up tomorrow in his bed. She waggled her eyebrows. Either way, it's more interesting than your usual Friday night. The minutes that followed felt both endless and impossibly short. I downed another glass of wine, liquid courage mixing with liquid stupidity. Sophia ordered us both water, which I ignored. And then, through the crowd of Friday night revelers, I saw him. Massimo De Luca shouldn't have looked out of place in a casual North End bar. But he did. He moved through the crowd like a shark through water, people instinctively parting for him without quite knowing why. His suit jacket was gone, his white dress shirt open at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that had no business being that distracting. But it was his eyes that pinned me to my bar stool. Dark. Intense. Fixed on me with a focus that made my mouth go dry. Oh fuck. Sophia breathed beside me. He's even scarier up close. Massimo reached us, and the noise of the bar seemed to fade into background static. He stood close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that I'd learned to associate with danger and desire. Miss Moretti. His voice was low, controlled. You texted me. Words failed. All my wine-fueled bravery evaporated under his gaze. She's drunk, Sophia supplied helpfully. We both are. Girls' night. You know how it is. His eyes never left my face. I see. And drunk Mia sends her boss inappropriate text messages? The way he said my name, not Miss Moretti, but Mia, made something hot and dangerous coil in my stomach. I'm sorry, I managed. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have... Shouldn't have what? He stepped closer, and I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. Shouldn't have told me to come get you? Because here I am, Mia. I came. I didn't think you actually would." Something flickered in his dark eyes. Amusement, maybe, or frustration. "You've worked for me for 11 months. In that time, have I ever ignored a direct request from you?" "That's different. That was work." "Was it?" His hand came up, fingers catching a strand of my hair that had fallen across my face. The touch was gentle, almost reverent, and completely inappropriate for a boss touching his assistant in a public bar. "I've been waiting 11 months for you to send me something that wasn't work-related, Mia. Waiting for any sign that you saw me as something other than your boss." The world tilted. Or maybe that was the wine. "You... what?" "I think I should go," Sophia said brightly, sliding off her bar stool. "Mia, text me when you get home. Or not. Whatever." She squeezed my shoulder. "Be brave, honey." Then she was gone, and I was alone with Massimo De Luca in a crowded bar, his hand still holding that strand of my hair like it was something precious. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Don't you?" He released my hair but didn't step back. "You think I don't notice you, Mia? You think I don't see you every morning when you bring my coffee exactly how I like it? When you anticipate what I need before I ask? When you work late without complaint, trying to make yourself invisible? I am invisible." "No." His voice hardened. "You're careful, controlled, hidden, but not invisible. Never invisible to me." I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be real. Men like Massimo De Luca didn't notice women like me. Sophia was right. They dated supermodels and socialites, women who matched their power and confidence. "You're drunk," I said, the only explanation that made sense. He laughed, a low sound that vibrated through me. "I haven't had a drink all day. I'm completely sober, Mia. Sober enough to know that picking you up from a bar when you're drunk is probably crossing about 15 professional boundaries." "Then why did you come?" His hand moved to my chin, tilting my face up. "Because you asked. Because for 11 months I've been trying to figure out how to approach you without terrifying you or making you think I'm abusing my position. And then you sent me 3 words that changed everything." "Come get me," I breathed. "Come get me," he agreed. "So here I am. The question is, Mia, what do you want me to do now that I'm here?" The wine made me brave, or stupid, or maybe just honest. "Take me home. Your home or mine?" The question was weighted with meaning. "I don't know. I can't think when you're this close." "Good." His thumb traced my lower lip. "I don't want you to think. I want you to feel. Do you feel this? This thing between us?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "How long?" he asked. "How long have you felt it? Since the first day. Since you interviewed me and looked at me like..." I trailed off, embarrassed. "Like what?" "Like you actually saw me. No one ever sees me." Something fierce flashed in his eyes. "I see you, Mia. I've always seen you. Every careful step. Every time you hide behind your desk. Every moment you think no one's watching." He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "I'm always watching." The words should have scared me. From any other man, they would have sounded creepy. But from Massimo, they sounded like a promise, a claim. "I should go home," I said, but made no move to leave. "This is crazy. You're my boss. There are rules." "Fuck the rules." The profanity sounded harsh in his cultured voice. "I've spent 11 months following rules, Mia. Keeping distance. Being professional. Pretending I don't want to cross every line HR has ever drawn. But you sent me that text. You opened the door. I was drunk." "You still are." He pulled back slightly. "Which is why I'm taking you home, your home, and putting you to bed. Alone. We're not doing this when you're drunk." Disappointment crashed through me. Oh, but tomorrow, he continued, his voice dropping to something dark and promising. Tomorrow, when you're sober and you've had time to think about what this means, I'm coming to see you, and we're going to have a very different conversation. He helped me off the bar stool, his hand at my elbow steady and warm. I swayed slightly, and he wrapped an arm around my waist, holding me against his side. Your address? I told him, and he guided me outside where a black Mercedes waited at the curb. A driver I didn't recognize held the door open. You had a car waiting? I asked as Massimo helped me into the back seat. I always have a car waiting. He slid in beside me, maintaining a careful distance even though every cell in my body wanted to close that gap. It's part of who I am, Mia. Part of what I do. There are things about me you don't know. Things that might scare you if you did. I'm not scared of you. Maybe you should be. He stared out the window as Boston slid past. I'm not a good man, Mia. I'm not the hero in your story. I don't need a hero. I struggled to articulate through the wine fog. I need someone who sees me, who wants me. You said you've been waiting 11 months. Why? He turned to face me, and in the intermittent streetlight, his expression was stark. Raw. Because you're kind without being weak. Because you're loyal without being a doormat. Because you make me want to be careful with something for the first time in my life. He reached out, touching my cheek. And because when you smile, really smile, not that polite thing you do for everyone else, it feels like sunlight after years in darkness. Tears pricked my eyes. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. It's the truth. I don't do romance, Mia. I don't do flowers and poetry and gentle courtship. But I do honesty. And the honest truth is that I want you. Have wanted you since you corrected my Latin in that meeting with the Castellano family and didn't even realize how dangerous that was. The Castellanos, I said slowly. They're not just business associates, are they? His silence was answer enough. I thought so, I continued. The warehouse visits, the phone calls in Italian, the way people look at you. I met his eyes. You're not just a businessman. No. One word, heavy as stone. Does that change anything? He asked after a moment. I should have said yes. Should have insisted he take me home and forget this ever happened. Should have protected myself from whatever danger came with wanting Massimo De Luca. But the wine and the loneliness and 11 months of invisible yearning made me say, no. It doesn't change anything. The car pulled up to my building. Massimo got out first, then helped me navigate the 3 flights of stairs to my tiny studio. I fumbled with my keys, and he gently took them from me, unlocking the door. You should drink water, he said, filling a glass from my kitchen tap. And eat something if you can. I'm not hungry, just tired. He guided me to my bed, and I sat, suddenly aware of how small my space was compared to his world. How shabby my second-hand furniture must look to someone who wore suits that cost more than my rent. Stop, he said, reading my thoughts with uncanny accuracy. I don't care about your apartment, Mia. I care about you. He knelt in front of me, and the sight of powerful Massimo De Luca on his knees before me made my breath catch. Gently, he removed my heels, his hands warm on my ankles. Sleep. Tomorrow we'll talk. Promise you'll come? The question came out small, vulnerable. I promise. He stood, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Sweet dreams, Mia Moretti. Then he was gone, and I was alone in my tiny apartment, the world spinning softly around me. I fell back on my bed, still dressed, and let sleep claim me. Tomorrow, I thought, as I drifted off. Tomorrow everything changes. I woke to sunlight stabbing through my curtains and a headache that felt like divine punishment. For a moment I lay perfectly still, trying to reconstruct the previous night through the fog of wine and regret. The bar, Sophia, the text message. Oh God, the text message. I bolted upright, immediately regretting the sudden movement as my stomach lurched. My phone lay on the nightstand, and with trembling fingers, I opened my messages. There it was. Come get me. 3 words I'd sent to my boss. 3 words that had somehow brought Massimo De Luca to Moretti's bar to collect his drunk assistant. I scrolled through our exchange, each text making my mortification worse. And then his final message, time-stamped at nearly midnight. Sleep well. I'll be there at noon. I checked the time. 11:17 a.m. Shit, 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 shit. I scrambled out of bed, still wearing last night's black dress, and caught sight of myself in the bathroom mirror. My hair was a disaster, mascara smudged under my eyes, and I smelled like wine and bad decisions. The shower was scalding and quick. I scrubbed away the evidence of last night, trying to wash away the mortification along with it. But some stains went deeper than soap could reach. What had I been thinking? What had possessed me to send that text? But I knew. 11 months of careful professionalism had finally cracked under the weight of wanting something I couldn't have. Sophia's encouragement. Too much wine. The perfect storm of loneliness and liquid courage. And now Massimo was coming here. To my tiny studio apartment. To have a conversation about. What exactly? Was he coming to fire me gently? To explain why what happened last night could never happen again? Or was he coming for something else entirely? I'd just pulled on jeans and a sweater, falling back into my safe uniform of neutral colors, when the knock came. 3 precise raps that somehow sounded authoritative even through my cheap hollow door. I took a breath, opened it. Massimo stood in my narrow hallway looking wildly out of place. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that clung to his broad shoulders, casual clothes that somehow made him look more dangerous than his suits. Less civilized, more real. Mia. Just my name, but the way he said it made my stomach flip. Mr. De Luca, I'm so sorry about last night. I was drunk and stupid, and I completely understand if you want to fire me. I'll pack up my desk on Monday and... May I come in? I stepped aside, hyper-aware of how small my space was, how the morning light revealed every crack in the plaster, every stain on the second-hand furniture. He stepped inside, and the studio seemed to shrink further, his presence overwhelming. Coffee? I asked, desperate for something to do with my hands. Please. I busied myself with my small coffee maker, grateful for the familiar ritual. Behind me, I felt him move around the space, could imagine him taking in the stack of paperback books by my bed, the framed photograph of my parents, the single plant I'd managed not to kill. You read Marquez, he said, picking up my worn copy of Love in the Time of Cholera. Yes, I studied literature in college before my parents died and practical concerns overrode dreams of graduate school. Before what? Before I needed to support myself. I handed him a mug of coffee. Before reality. He took a sip, his eyes never leaving my face. This is how I like it. Exactly how I like it. I know. I've been making your coffee for 11 months. Yes. You have. He set the mug down. Sit with me, Mia. We need to talk. I perched on the edge of my worn couch, as far from him as the small space allowed. He sat beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, that woodsy scent that haunted my dreams. Are you going to fire me? I asked, unable to bear the silence. No. He turned to face me fully. Unless you want to quit. In which case I'd understand, but I'd rather you didn't. I don't understand what's happening. Don't you? He reached out, tucking a damp strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was intimate, familiar, completely at odds with our professional relationship. Last night you sent me a text message, 3 words that told me what I've been hoping to hear for months. I was drunk. Alcohol lowers inhibitions, Mia. It doesn't create feelings that weren't already there. His hand cupped my cheek. Were you lying when you sent that message? When you asked me to come get you? No, but I wouldn't have had the courage to send it sober. I know. That's why I've been waiting. Why I've been careful not to pressure you, not to make you feel obligated or scared. He paused. There are things about me you need to know, things I haven't told you because I wanted to keep you separate from that part of my life. The part where you're not just a businessman. His eyes sharpened. What do you know? Not much, just pieces. The warehouse visits, the phone calls you take in Italian with the door locked, the way certain people react when your name is mentioned. I met his gaze. You're connected to something. The Castellanos, maybe others. Something illegal. My family, he said carefully, has business interests that span many sectors, some more legitimate than others. You're in the Mafia. The word hung between us, stark and undeniable. He didn't flinch. That's a crude term for a complex organization. But essentially, yes. He watched me carefully. Does that frighten you? I should have said yes, should have asked him to leave, should have run from this dangerous man and his dangerous world. But I'd spent 11 months watching Massimo De Luca, 11 months seeing how he treated his employees with fairness, how he protected those loyal to him, how he could be ruthless in business but never cruel. Whatever he wasn't a monster. It should frighten me, I said honestly, but somehow it doesn't. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe we both are. His thumb stroked across my cheekbone. I shouldn't want you, Mia. You're too good, too innocent for my world. But I do want you. Have wanted you since the day you walked into my office for your interview wearing a gray suit and looking terrified. I was terrified. You're intimidating. Only to people I want to intimidate. He shifted closer. You need to understand what you'd be getting into. I can't give you a normal relationship. There will be dangers. People who might try to use you to get to me. Secrets you'll have to keep. A life that's never fully separate from my business. Why are you telling me this? Why not just keep it professional like you have been? Because you sent me that text. Because for the first time, you reached out. And I've been going slowly insane trying to keep my distance when all I want is to pull you into my life completely. His forehead rested against mine. But I need you to choose this with open eyes, Mia. I need you to understand what you're saying yes to. What am I saying yes to exactly? Me, us, whatever this becomes. His lips brushed mine, butterfly light. I want you in my life, Mia Moretti, not just as my assistant. I want to take you to dinner, to know what makes you laugh, to wake up with you in my bed. I want to protect you, provide for you, keep you safe from everything, including myself if necessary. That sounds like more than dating. It is more than dating. His voice was fierce. I don't do casual, Mia. If we cross this line, you're mine. Completely. And I take care of what's mine. The possessiveness should have alarmed me. Should have sent me running back to my careful, controlled life. But instead, it made something deep inside me unfurl, like a flower reaching for sunlight. I'd been taking care of myself since I was 19. Being careful. Being responsible. Being invisible. What would it be like to let someone else carry that weight? To be seen, protected, claimed by someone as powerful as Massimo De Luca? I'm scared, I admitted. Good. Fear means you understand the stakes. He pulled back enough to look into my eyes. But are you brave enough to try anyway? I thought about the text message, about drunk Mia having the courage sober Mia lacked. Maybe she'd been onto something. Maybe sometimes you had to be a little bit brave and a little bit stupid to get what you really wanted. Yes, I whispered. I'm brave enough. His kiss was nothing like the gentle brush from before. This was claiming, possessive, a promise and a threat, and a beginning all at once. His hand tangled in my still damp hair, tilting my head back to deepen the kiss. I made a sound I'd never heard myself make before. Hungry, desperate, finally free. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. His dark eyes had gone black with desire, and I wondered if I looked the same. Transformed, new. We do this my way, he said, voice rough. I protect you. I provide for you. You trust me to keep you safe. What about work? You'll still be my assistant. A small smile played at his lips. I'm not letting you go professionally. You're too good at your job. But after hours, Mia, you're mine in a very different way. People will talk. Let them. Anyone who works for me knows better than to gossip about my personal life. What about the women I see going to your office? The lipstick on glasses? Business meetings? Wives of associates? Nothing more, and there hasn't been for months. He caught my chin. Since a woman with dark hair and careful eyes walked into my life and made me want things I'd stopped letting myself want. What things? Something real. Someone who sees me and isn't afraid. Someone I can be myself with. His thumb traced my lower lip. You see me, don't you, Mia? Not just the boss or the businessman or the man people whisper about. You see me. Yes, I breathed. I see you. Then see this too. I'm all in. No half measures. If you're mine completely. Can you handle that? I thought about my careful life, my safe routine, the shell I'd built around myself after my parents died. Massimo was offering to crack that shell open, to pull me into something dangerous and real and terrifying. I want to try, I said. I want to be brave enough for this. You already are. He kissed me again, slower this time, savoring. You've been brave since the moment you took a job working for me despite being terrified. Since you stood up to me when I was wrong about the Castellano deal. Since you sent me that text last night. That was wine bravery. That was liquid courage revealing what you really wanted. He stood, pulling me with him. Now, ground rules. You move into my place. What? No, that's too fast. Not negotiable. If you're mine, you're under my protection. That means my home, my security. Your apartment isn't safe enough. It's been safe for 2 years. That was before you became important to me, before people might try to use you to get to me. His face was stern, unyielding. This is what I meant about understanding what you're getting into, Mia. My life has dangers. I won't expose you to them unnecessarily. I wanted to argue, wanted to insist on my independence, but the reality of his world was settling over me. If I was going to be with Massimo, I had to accept his protection, even if it felt like losing my autonomy. Can I at least pack my own things? Of course, I'll help. We'll do it today. Today, I have a shift tomorrow. You're taking a sick day. We need time to adjust to this new arrangement. His eyes heated. Time for me to show you exactly what being mine means. My breath caught. Oh. Any other concerns? What do I tell people? Sophia will want to know. Tell her the truth, that we're together, that I'm taking care of you. He drew me close. I'm not hiding you, Mia. You're mine. I want everyone to know it. The possessiveness should have bothered me, should have raised red flags. But instead, It made me feel something I hadn't felt since my parents died. Safe, cherished, claimed by someone who would burn the world down before letting anything hurt me. "Okay," I said. "Okay, let's do this." His smile was triumphant. "Good girl. Now let's pack your things. Your new life starts today." Massimo's penthouse overlooked Boston Harbor from the top floor of a building he owned. Of course he owned the building. As I stepped out of the private elevator that opened directly into his home, I realized my tiny studio could have fit in his foyer. I struggled for words, turning in a slow circle to take in the soaring ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, and modern furnishings that whispered wealth without shouting it. Intimidating. It's home. He set down the boxes containing my meager possessions. Everything I owned fit in 3 boxes and 2 suitcases. "You're home now, too." A woman appeared from what I assumed was the kitchen, older with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in an elegant bun. "Mr. DeLuca, welcome back." "Teresa, this is Mia Moretti. She'll be living here now." His hand settled possessively at the small of my back. "Mia, Teresa manages the household. Anything you need, she'll help." "Miss Moretti." Teresa's warm smile eased some of my anxiety. "It's lovely to meet you. Shall I show you where your things should go?" "I can do that," Massimo said. "But thank you, Teresa. Could you prepare lunch for 2 in about an hour?" After she left, he guided me through the penthouse. 3 bedrooms, though only one, his, was clearly lived in. 4 bathrooms finished in Italian marble, a study with built-in bookshelves and a massive desk, a gym, a terrace with views that made my breath catch. "The master bedroom," he said, opening the last door. The room was enormous, dominated by a platform bed that could sleep 4. Everything was in shades of gray and black, masculine and clean. The opposite wall was entirely glass, offering an unobstructed view of the harbor. "This is where you sleep?" I asked, then felt stupid. Obviously it was. "This is where we sleep." He moved behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. "Get used to it, Mia. You're in my bed, in my life, in my home. I want you here. I want to wake up with you every morning." "It's so fast," I whispered. "Yesterday morning I woke up in my studio apartment and now you're mine." He turned me in his arms. "Is it too much? Do you need more time?" I wanted to say yes. Wanted to pump the brakes on this freight train I'd apparently boarded. But looking into his dark eyes, feeling the solid warmth of him against me, I realized I didn't want to slow down. "No," I said. "This is crazy and impulsive and probably a terrible idea, but I don't want more time. I want this." His kiss was fierce, possessive, a brand. "Good, because I'm not letting you go now that I have you." We unpacked my things together, though unpacking was generous. My few clothes looked lost in his massive walk-in closet. My books fit on one shelf of his floor-to-ceiling library. My bathroom supplies barely made a dent in the vanity space. "We need to take you shopping," he said, surveying my clothing with a critical eye. "These clothes are fine." "These clothes," he interrupted, holding up one of my gray cardigans, "are armor. You hide in them. I want you to feel beautiful, not invisible." "I can't afford designer clothes on my salary." His expression hardened. "You're not paying for anything anymore, Mia. That's not how this works. I can't just let you buy me things." "Yes, you can. You will." He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I take care of what's mine. That includes making sure you have everything you need and want. Don't fight me on this." "But it makes me feel like I'm being kept." "You are being kept. I'm keeping you safe, comfortable, happy." His thumb traced my lower lip. "There's no shame in letting me provide for you, Mia. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use it to take care of you." The words should have made me uncomfortable, should have felt like I was giving up my independence, my self-sufficiency. But instead, they settled over me like a warm blanket. Someone wanted to take care of me, not because I couldn't take care of myself, but because I mattered to him. "Okay," I said softly, "but nothing too expensive. I'll buy you whatever I want." His smile was wicked. "And you'll wear it and look beautiful, and let me show you off." Lunch was a revelation. Teresa had prepared fresh pasta with a sauce that tasted like summer in Italy, served on the terrace despite the March chill. Massimo opened a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my old monthly rent. "Tell me about your family," he said, twirling pasta onto his fork. "Not much to tell. My parents died in a car accident when I was 19. I was an only child. No grandparents. No close relatives." I took a sip of wine. "What about yours?" His expression shuddered slightly. "My father died 10 years ago, heart attack. My mother lives in Sicily now, retired to the village where she was born." "Do you see her often?" "A few times a year. She doesn't approve of my business." A wry smile. "She wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, something respectable. But you chose the family business instead." "I chose to honor my father's legacy, to protect what he built, to take care of the people who depend on us." He set down his fork. "It's not just about money or power, Mia. It's about family, loyalty, taking care of our people when the system fails them. You make it sound noble. It's not, but it's not pure evil either. We exist in shades of gray." His eyes searched mine. "Can you live with that? With not knowing exactly where the lines are?" I thought about my careful, ordered life before yesterday, where everything was black and white, right and wrong, safe and dangerous. But that life had also been lonely, empty, a shell I'd built to protect myself from feeling too much. "I think," I said slowly, "that I've been living in too much certainty. Maybe a little gray is exactly what I need." His smile was genuine, transforming his face. "You continue to surprise me, Piccola." "What does that mean?" "You called me that earlier. Little one, a term of endearment." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "You're so small compared to me, so delicate. It makes me want to protect you from everything." "I'm not fragile. No, you're stronger than you think. But that doesn't mean you have to be strong alone anymore." After lunch, he showed me his study. Unlike the rest of the penthouse, this room felt lived in. Papers scattered across the desk, books pulled from shelves and left open, a humidor with expensive cigars he admitted to smoking when stressed. "This is where I really work," he said. "The office is for show, for meetings. This is where decisions are made." "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "The Castellanos, are they like your family?" His jaw tightened. "In some ways. Different territories, different specialties. But yes, part of the same world." "And when I corrected your Latin during that meeting," I trailed off, remembering. "You interrupted a negotiation where showing weakness could have been dangerous." He pulled me close. But instead of being angry, I was fascinated. Here was this quiet assistant, correcting me in front of men who'd kill for less disrespect. Either you were incredibly stupid or incredibly brave. I was terrified after I realized what I'd done. "I know. I saw you shaking when you left the conference room. But you stood your ground in the moment." His fingers threaded through my hair. "That's when I knew I wanted you. Not just physically, but completely. I wanted that courage, that intelligence, that refusal to be invisible even when it was safer. I'm not always brave. You're brave enough." He kissed me, slow and thorough. "You're here, aren't you? In my home, in my life, trusting me despite knowing what I am." The kiss deepened, his hands roaming, and I felt myself melting into him. This was dangerous, terrifying, exactly what I needed. "Bedroom," he murmured against my lips. "Now." I let him lead me back to the master bedroom, my heart pounding. This was happening, really happening. No more stolen glances at the office, no more pretending. This was real. He undressed me slowly, reverently, his eyes dark with desire as each piece of clothing fell away. "You're perfect," he breathed, more perfect than I imagined. "You imagined this?" Every day for 11 months, his hands traced my curves. Every meeting where you sat across from me taking notes. Every time you bent over to retrieve a dropped pen. Every fucking time you bit your lower lip when you were concentrating. I reached for his shirt, fumbling with buttons. He helped me, shrugging it off to reveal a body that made my mouth go dry. Muscled without being bulky, with a scatter of scars that told stories I might never fully know. These? I touched one on his ribs. Knife fight, years ago. He caught my hand. "My world leaves marks, Mia, inside and out. You need to know that." "I know." What followed was both gentle and fierce. He took his time learning my body, discovering what made me gasp and shiver. And when we finally came together, it felt like something clicking into place. Like I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment, this man, this dangerous, perfect fit. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with the afternoon sun slanting through the windows, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not invisible, not careful, not hiding. Just myself. Claimed. Cherished. His. "No regrets?" he asked, echoing our earlier conversation. "None. You?" "Never." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "You're mine now, Mia Moretti, and I take care of what's mine." I believed him. Against all logic and reason, I believed every word. And for the first time since my parents died, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, I'd found somewhere I belonged. Living with Massimo was an education in contradictions. Mornings were domestic. Coffee made exactly how we each liked it, sharing sections of the newspaper at the kitchen island, Teresa's gentle presence making breakfast. Then we'd go to the office together, and the careful distance would reassert itself. At work, I was still Miss Moretti, his efficient assistant. He was still Mr. DeLuca, the demanding boss. We maintained perfect professionalism, though I sometimes caught him watching me with heat in his eyes that had nothing to do with quarterly reports. But the moment that elevator door closed on our way home, everything changed. His hand would find my waist, pull me against him. His mouth would claim mine with a hunger that 11 months of restraint had only amplified. And by the time we reached the penthouse, we could barely make it to the bedroom. "I've been thinking about this all day," he'd growl against my throat. "Thinking about getting you home, getting you under me." We were in a board meeting. "I know. You crossed your legs and I lost track of my presentation." His teeth grazed my collarbone. "You're a distraction, Piccola, a dangerous one." 3 weeks into our new arrangement, I was organizing files in his office when Antonio Castellano arrived unannounced, the same man whose Latin I'd corrected in that fateful meeting. "Moretti." Antonio's gaze swept over me with curiosity. "You're still here, and looking. Different." I'd taken Massimo's advice about my wardrobe. Instead of my gray armor, I wore a charcoal dress that actually fit, with shoes that made my legs look longer. My hair was down instead of in its severe bun. Small changes, but they made me feel less invisible. "Mr. Castellano, Mr. DeLuca is expecting you." "I'm sure he is." Antonio's smile was knowing. "The rumors are true then. Massimo's finally claimed his assistant. Heat flooded my cheeks. Before I could respond, Massimo's door opened. "Antonio, you're early." His voice was cool, but his eyes blazed as he took in how the other man was looking at me. "Mia, could you bring us coffee?" I prepared the coffee with shaking hands. Rumors. Of course there were rumors. We'd been careful at the office, but people noticed things. The way Massimo's driver now took me home instead of me catching the tea. The new clothes. The glow I probably wore like a beacon. When I brought the coffee in, both men fell silent. I set the cups down, hyper-aware of their scrutiny. "Will there be anything else, Mr. DeLuca?" "No. Thank you, Miss Moretti." The formal address felt strange now after 3 weeks of hearing him call me piccola, amore, mine. But I nodded and left, closing the door behind me. Through the heavy wood, I could hear their voices. Antonio's laughter. "Finally made your move, did you? About time." The tension between you two was palpable. My personal life is not up for discussion. Of course not. But Massimo, you need to be careful. Having a weakness. She's not a weakness. Massimo's voice went cold. Dangerous. And anyone who treats her as such will answer to me. I shouldn't have been listening. Should have returned to my desk. But I stayed frozen, hearing my relationship discussed in terms of strategic vulnerabilities and dangerous attachments. That evening, I was quiet during dinner. Massimo noticed. "What's wrong?" "Antonio called me your weakness today." His fork clattered against his plate. "You heard that." I shouldn't have been listening, but yes. I met his eyes. "Is that what I am? A liability?" "No." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "You're mine. But in my world, anything you care about can be used against you. That's why I need to keep you safe. Maybe we should be more careful at work. Keep more distance." "No." The word was final. "I'm not hiding you, Mia. I'm not pretending you don't matter. Anyone who works for me needs to understand that you're under my protection. That touching you means war." That sounds dramatic. It's the reality. He pulled me from my chair onto his lap. "I know this is hard to understand. But in my world, perception is everything. If I hide you, people think you're shameful. A secret. But if I claim you openly, they know you're valuable, protected, mine. So I'm a statement. You're everything." His arms tightened around me. "And yes, people will talk. Some will see you as my weakness. But those people don't matter. What matters is that you're safe and happy and with me." I wanted to argue, wanted to insist on more independence, more normalcy. But I was beginning to understand that normal didn't exist in Massimo's world. There was only loyalty and protection, power and weakness, his and not his. And I had chosen to be his. A week later, I missed my period. I stared at the calendar on my phone, counting backward with growing certainty. We'd been careful, mostly, but there had been that first night, and maybe another time when we'd been too eager, too desperate for each other to pause. I bought a pregnancy test during my lunch break, stashing it in my purse like contraband. That evening, while Massimo was on a call with his mother in Sicily, I locked myself in the bathroom and took the test. 2 pink lines appeared with decisive clarity. Pregnant. I stared at those lines for a long time, trying to process what they meant. A baby. Massimo's baby. After only a month together. This was insane. Too fast. Too much. We'd barely adjusted to living together, and now this. But under the panic, something else stirred. Something warm and unexpected and almost like joy. A baby. A family. Something that was mine. Ours, in a way nothing else could be. When I finally emerged, Massimo was in the bedroom, loosening his tie. "My mother wants to meet you." I told her maybe next month when... Mia, what's wrong? I must have looked pale, or terrified, or both. I need to tell you something. He went very still, his executive brain probably running through worst-case scenarios. What is it? I held out the test with shaking hands. He stared at it for a long moment, then at me, then back at the test. You're pregnant. Yes. I'm sorry. I know this is terrible timing and we've only been together a month and... Why are you apologizing? He closed the distance between us, his hands framing my face. Why would you apologize for giving me the best news I've had in years? I blinked. You're... happy? Happy doesn't begin to cover it. He kissed me, fierce and possessive. You're carrying my child, Mia, my baby. How could I be anything but ecstatic? But it's so fast. I don't care about fast. I care that you're mine, that our baby is growing inside you, that I get to take care of both of you. His hand moved to my still flat stomach. This is perfect, Piccola. Everything I want. Relief washed through me so powerfully my knees weakened. He caught me, lifting me easily and carrying me to the bed. Are you okay? Do you feel sick? Do you need anything? I'm fine. Just overwhelmed. I laughed, slightly hysterical. A month ago, I was your invisible assistant. Now I'm living with you and pregnant with your baby. It's a lot. I know, but we'll handle it together. He lay beside me, his hand remaining on my stomach as though he could already feel the tiny life inside. I'm going to take care of you both, give you everything you need. I already have everything I need. No, you have me. Soon you'll have so much more. His eyes gleamed with plans already forming. We'll get married. Not some long engagement. Soon. I want you to be my wife before the baby comes. Married? Of course married. You think I'm letting another man's name on my child's birth certificate? He kissed me softly. You're mine, Mia. This baby makes it official. Marry me. It wasn't really a question, more a statement of inevitable fact, but I found I didn't mind. Yes, I whispered. I'll marry you. His smile was triumphant. Good. Teresa can help you plan whatever kind of wedding you want. Big, small, whatever makes you happy. But it happens soon. I'm not waiting. What about work? People will definitely know now. Let them know. My assistant is becoming my wife and mother of my child. Anyone who has a problem with that can find new employment. His hand spread possessively over my stomach. I'm going to spoil you both rotten. You know that, right? I'm beginning to understand. The next morning, Massimo insisted I see a doctor. Not just any doctor, his family doctor, who apparently made house calls to the penthouse. Dr. Caruso was a kind older woman who examined me gently, confirmed the pregnancy, and prescribed prenatal vitamins. Everything looks good, she said, smiling, but you need to take it easy, no stress. I work full-time. Not anymore, Massimo interrupted. You're done at the office. You'll stay home, rest, take care of yourself and the baby. I can't just quit. You're not quitting. You're going on indefinite maternity leave. His voice brooked no argument. I'll find another assistant. You focus on being healthy. After Dr. Caruso left, I confronted him. You can't just make decisions like this without consulting me. I can when it concerns your health and our baby's safety. He pulled me into his arms. I know you value your independence, Piccola, but you're carrying something precious. Let me protect you both. What will I do all day? Rest, read, plan the wedding, grow our baby. His hand cupped my stomach. Let me take care of everything else. It should have felt suffocating, should have made me want to fight back, reclaim my autonomy. But instead, it felt like relief, like I could finally stop being strong and careful and self-sufficient. Like I could finally just be. Okay, I agreed. But I'm not becoming some helpless. You could never be helpless. He kissed my forehead. You're the strongest woman I know, but even strong women need someone to lean on sometimes. That afternoon, he announced our engagement to the office, then announced I'd be leaving to prepare for the wedding and the baby. The reactions ranged from genuine happiness to barely concealed envy. Sophia caught me as I was packing up my desk. Holy shit, Mia. You actually did it. You sent that drunk text and landed a Mafia boss. I didn't land him. We just found each other. Is he good to you? Because if he's not, boss or no boss, He's wonderful. I squeezed her hand. Intense and possessive, and probably too controlling, but wonderful. He makes me feel seen. That's all I needed to hear. She hugged me. Be happy, okay? And invite me to the wedding. Of course. As Massimo drove us home that evening, he'd insisted on driving himself instead of using his driver. I watched the city slide past and marveled at how much had changed in 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago, I'd been invisible, careful, hiding. Now I was engaged to one of Boston's most powerful men, carrying his child, about to become his wife. It was terrifying, overwhelming, absolutely perfect. What are you thinking? He asked, catching my hand and bringing it to his lips. That I'm glad I sent that text, even if I was drunk and stupid. You weren't stupid. You were brave. He glanced at me, love naked in his eyes. You were exactly brave enough. The wedding was small, intimate. Only 30 people in the private chapel of a Catholic church where Massimo's family had worshipped for generations. I wore a simple ivory dress that accommodated my slight baby bump, now visible at 3 months. Sophia stood as my maid of honor. Antonio Castellano served as Massimo's best man. You're sure about this? Sophia whispered as we waited in the vestibule. It's not too late to run. I'm sure. And I was. More sure than I'd ever been about anything. The ceremony was conducted in both English and Italian, honoring Massimo's heritage. When he slid the ring onto my finger, platinum with a diamond that probably cost more than my old studio apartment, his hand trembled slightly, the only sign of nerves I'd ever seen him display. You're mine now, he murmured as we were pronounced husband and wife. Completely. Forever. I was yours the moment you walked into Moretti's to get me. I murmured back. The reception was held at an exclusive restaurant Massimo owned. Excellent food, free-flowing wine I couldn't drink, and toasts that made me blush. Antonio's speech was particularly memorable. I've known Massimo De Luca for 20 years. In all that time, I've never seen him truly happy. Content, maybe. Successful, certainly. But happy? He raised his glass toward us. Mia, whatever magic you worked on this stubborn bastard, thank you. To the bride and groom. Later, during our first dance, Massimo held me close and whispered, How are you feeling? Is this too much? It's perfect. And it was. Intimate and warm, surrounded by people who mattered. No pretense, just love. I have a surprise for you, he said as the song ended. He led me to a quiet corner where an older woman waited, elegant in a navy dress, her dark hair streaked with silver. She had Massimo's eyes. Mia, this is my mother, Isabella. Mama, this is Mia, my wife. Isabella's smile was warm as she embraced me. Bella, she said, kissing both my cheeks. My son speaks of nothing but you. And the bambino? She placed a gentle hand on my stomach. Due in November. A blessing. Her eyes glistened. I prayed for years that Massimo would find someone to love. Someone to make him complete. Mama, Massimo warned, but his voice was gentle. I know. You're a tough man. A serious man. She patted his cheek. But you're still my son. and I'm glad you found your home." After she left, I looked up at Massimo. "You flew your mother from Sicily. She wanted to meet you, to bless our marriage." His arms wrapped around me from behind, his hands resting on my stomach. "Family is everything to my mother, and now you're family." The honeymoon was a week in a private villa in Tuscany. We spent lazy days in bed, eating too much pasta, exploring vineyards, and talking about everything and nothing. Away from Boston, from his business, from the careful balance we'd been maintaining. Massimo relaxed in ways I'd never seen. "I could stay here forever," I said one evening, watching the sunset paint the hills gold. "We could." He kissed my neck. "I have the money. We could disappear." "But you won't." "No. My family, my people, they need me. But someday, when the baby's older, we'll come back. Show them where their nanny is from." I turned in his arms. "You really want this? The family, the baby, all of it?" "More than anything." His hand cupped my face. "Before you, I was just surviving, going through motions. But now I have something to live for, someone to protect and cherish and come home to." "I love you," I said, still slightly amazed that I could say it, that it was real. "I love you more than I thought I could love anything." He kissed me softly. "You saved me, Mia Moretti. Or Mia DeLuca now, I suppose." "Mia DeLuca," I tested the name. "I like it." When we returned to Boston, I settled into my new life as Massimo's wife. Teresa helped me prepare a nursery in one of the spare bedrooms, painting it soft yellow since we'd decided not to find out the baby's gender. "A surprise," Massimo had insisted. "Like you were for me, the best surprise." My pregnancy progressed smoothly. Massimo attended every doctor's appointment, his hand gripping mine when we heard the heartbeat for the first time, his eyes suspiciously bright. "That's our baby," he'd whispered, awed. At 6 months, when my belly was unmistakably round, he became even more protective. No stairs without him spotting me. No going anywhere without security. No stress of any kind. "You're smothering me," I complained one day after he'd canceled my lunch plans with Sophia for the 3rd time. "I'm protecting you." He pulled me onto the couch beside him, his hand immediately going to my stomach. "Both of you. There's protecting, and then there's wrapping me in bubble wrap. If I could find bubble wrap strong enough, I would." He kissed me to soften the words. "I know I'm being overbearing. But Mia, you're carrying the most precious thing in my world. I can't risk anything happening to either of you." The baby kicked against his hand, and his entire face transformed. Joy, wonder, love so fierce it made my chest tight. "They like you," I said softly. "They better. I'm their father." He leaned down, speaking to my belly. "You hear that, Piccolo? I'm your papa, and I'm going to love you so much, protect you, give you everything." I ran my fingers through his hair. "You're going to be a wonderful father." "I hope so." Vulnerability flashed in his eyes. My father was. Complicated. I want to be better. "You will be. You already are." November arrived with early snow. I was huge, uncomfortable, and ready to meet this baby we'd made. On November 15th at 3 a.m., my water broke. "Massimo." I shook him awake. "It's time." He went from asleep to fully alert in seconds. Time, the baby's coming. What followed was a blur. The drive to the hospital, Massimo barking orders at nurses, holding my hand through contractions that felt like they were splitting me in half. "You're doing so well, amore," he murmured, wiping my forehead with a cool cloth. "So strong. I'm so proud of you." "I hate you," I panted through another contraction. "This is your fault." I know. I'm sorry. I love you. After 12 hours of labor, Isabella De Luca, Bella for short, entered the world at 3:17 p.m., screaming her displeasure at being evicted from her warm cocoon. They placed her on my chest, this tiny, perfect being with dark hair and Massimo's nose. She's beautiful, I breathed, tears streaming down my face. Our daughter. Massimo stood beside us, looking at his daughter with an expression of absolute awe. When they let him hold her, he cradled her like she was made of spun glass. "Ciao, Bella," he whispered. "I'm your papa, and I promise you, tesoro, you'll never want for anything. You'll always be safe, always be loved. You're mine. Both of you are mine, my girls." Bella grabbed his finger with her tiny fist, and Massimo's tough exterior crumbled completely. Tears slid down his face as he looked at me, his expression raw. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for her. For everything. For sending that text. For being brave enough to let me love you." "Thank you for coming to get me," I replied, reaching up to wipe his tears. "For seeing me. For making me feel like I'm home." We stayed like that, the three of us, while snow fell softly outside the hospital window. A family. Unexpected and imperfect, and absolutely real. Later, when Bella was sleeping in her bassinet and visiting hours were over, Massimo sat beside my bed, still watching our daughter like he couldn't quite believe she existed. "I never thought I'd have this," he admitted quietly. "A wife, a child, something real and good in my life. You deserve it." "I don't know about that." He took my hand. "But I promise you, Mia, I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of you both. You're my redemption, my everything." "You're mine too," I said. "My everything." 1 year later, I watched from the terrace as Massimo played with Bella in the living room below. She was walking now, toddling around on unsteady legs, squealing with delight when her papa caught her. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Can you believe it's been a year since you sent that drunk text? Best decision ever?" I smiled, typing back, "Best decision ever." Because it was. That wine-fueled moment of courage had changed everything, had led me here, to this man, this baby, this life I'd never dared dream of. Massimo looked up, catching me watching, and his smile was pure love. He said something to Bella, and she looked up at me too, waving her chubby fist. "Mama!" My heart melted. I headed down to join them, to be scooped into Massimo's arms while Bella giggled between us. This was home, this man who'd come when I called, this baby we'd made, this life we'd built from a single drunk text and a lifetime of courage. "I love you," I murmured against Massimo's chest. "I love you more." He kissed the top of my head. "Thank you for texting me, amore, for asking me to come get you. Thank you for actually coming. Always," he promised. "Whenever you call, whatever you need, I'll always come for you. You're mine. Forever." "Yours," I agreed, feeling our daughter's small hand pat my leg, hearing her babbling happily. "Forever." And standing there in our home, surrounded by love I'd never thought I'd find, I knew with absolute certainty that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is send a text message. Sometimes courage comes in small packages, 3 words at 10 p.m. after too much wine. "Come get me." And sometimes, if you're very lucky, someone comes. Someone stays. Someone becomes your everything. I'd found my everything in Massimo De Luca, and he'd found his in me.